This video is sponsored by AudioQuest, makers of Dragonfly DACs and audio cables, whose good value Evergreen, Red River, Mackenzie and Yukon analog cables I've used to good effect in my reviews. Before we get into this video, I just want to say, if you like what I do or you've been a regular viewer and you want to support me and you want to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, please consider signing up to Patreon. It's literally the cost of a drink every month, $5, €5, £5, and it means so much and it's so appreciated. I'm trying to make this channel work and by doing videos as well, and it's ridiculously difficult. It's the only thing I'm doing at the moment, and as I say, your support can ensure the long-term sustainability of this channel. But obviously it's not one-way traffic, and I can give back on Patreon as well. So ad-free videos, my picks and preferences, chat about products to save you money, and early access thoughts and videos. I'm going to be doing also lots of written stuff on Patreon because that's an under-featured part of my reviews. I just want to say also that you can read my web article on the WiiM Pro Plus. Lots of the things I've not mentioned in this video is available in that article, so do check that out as well. The Pro Plus is a weightier and more solid version of the original Pro streamer from WiiM or WiiM. It depends how you say it. There's not a right and wrong way. Some people post in comments, that's not how you say it. It has improvements in certain areas in terms of the DAC, a low noise clock, a new circuit and power design, and a new ADC converter, analog to digital converter, which is after the line inputs. So you can feed it a CD player or turntable. The WiiM then digitizes that and transmits it over the network to other players in a multi-room capability. It's hard to fault what this streamer does for £219 or $219. Obviously you get it better in the States with that price. It works the other way around sometimes when British products are sold into America. But for all it does, you've got Spotify Connect, Tidal Connect, Chromecasting, DNA, AirPlay 2 and room readiness, which is coming. It's in testing at the moment. It's pretty astounding really, and this is something that WiiM are known for. Additionally, if you want to play Quo bars or internet radio, you can do that in the WiiM Home app, which also supports multi-room, so that takes care of other streaming services that aren't available for your normal Tidal Spotify Connect. But there's also ADC line inputs I've talked about, and room EQ and a parametric EQ, which is a new feature. And also you get a remote control with this streamer, which you don't with some. And I always say that's a great feature because you don't have to do that faff of opening your tablet, passcodes and all of that in order to get music playing straight away. But one of my favourite features with this streamer, a feature that I've always advocated, is the preset functionality. And you get 12 in all and 4 on the remote by virtue of there being 4 buttons. I think on the Bluesound Node, you only get 5 in the app. I might stand corrected on that. Maybe someone could mention that in the comments. But it's a great feature to simply just like turn on your amp and press one of the buttons to get going straight away. And if, say, you're using Tidal, you could add a track as a preset or an album or another playlist in Tidal. I don't know whether this works with UPnP, but I did try it with internet streaming radio stations on TuneIn, and you can obviously just set a radio station, use it as like a tuner if you like. What actually is the competition to the WiiM Pro Plus though at this price? Well, I actually went online, researched the internet forums, and I couldn't find anything. And in fact, the only thing that probably competes with it is the other WiiM streamers, so the Pro and the Mini, which I understand use the same DAC. If you look at the chart on the website, it shows specs of all three devices. But this leads me on to my next point. This Pro Plus uses an improved DAC, but I wanted to check out how that DAC sounds to the Mini, and I used Gato Audio's Amp 150 AE with my PMC speakers. I know this is not perhaps that price appropriate. I am going to be doing a more price appropriate test at the end of this video, but I thought, how does it reveal the differences? I should also say that I spent about 4 days making comparisons and swapping out gear in this video to test the streamers that I will be using in this video. The most obvious differences between the Pro Plus and the Mini is that the Mini uses 3.5mm connections for line in and line outputs. Obviously, the Pro Plus has a full complement of RCA sockets due to its size, but there's also the fact that the Mini doesn't have a digital input. The Pro Plus has a better AD converter than the Mini, and also the Mini can't deal with Chromecast, probably down to the fact that it doesn't have the hardware capability. The Pro Plus uses a quad-core processor and the Mini uses a dual-core type. I party mode the Pro and the Mini in the WiiM Home app, where you can actually link the players together so you can play the same track through both at the same time. I've got RCA outs into the Gato Audio from the Pro Plus and a 3.5mm to 2 RCA cable from the Mini. And I'd say that the differences was good, if not huge, about what you'd expect for where I am, £130 difference in price. I thought that the difference was a little bit better with textural details, more warmth, deeper bass, and just a slightly bigger, just slightly better ability to handle and deal with bass a bit better was a predominant area that came across. Sonos streamers use, and I think they've been doing this for some time, a mesh network, which basically involves creating their own Wi-Fi with other Sonos devices in order to sync well with one another. I think Bluesound use Wi-Fi to do the same job. But of these three companies, Bluesound, Sonos and WiiM are the only one that use little microphones on the back of the Pro, the Mini and the Pro Plus to test audio path latency across your network. Obviously the aim is to ensure that all your devices are synced together so there's no time lag. I don't think there is any particular advantage of over using a mic compared to these other means, nor am I drawing any disparity in that regard. I just thought it's an interesting thing and unique thing for WiiM streamers. Nobody's listening into anybody, so this isn't a device to then start to send you marketing emails, or you start finding out that what you've been discussing you want to buy with someone is then going to appear on your Facebook feed. That's not the point of the microphone at all. First off, I don't think the Sonos port is the Bluesound Node 2021 or WiiM Pro Plus competitor. And I say this making an exception to my normal rule about how I do reviews, because Sonos are a big company, they've got huge marketing budgets, and also they're probably in the space of being more orientated towards consumer audio as opposed to audiophile audio. And also they're making speakers, not just streamers. They're more in that space, so they're going to suit more those people that want an all-in-one speaker. But I had the Sonos port when I was reviewing the Node 2i a few years back, and I found in comparison to the Node that the port is the more blurred, more toned, more thick type of streamer, but it was just too excessive in that area in terms of mid-range and bass. The Node 2i in comparison was the more incisive, resolute performer, which Bluesound improved on when they brought out the Node 2021 and by all accounts the Node X. But the thing is, the Sonos port costs almost or about double the money as the WiiM Pro Plus, but the WiiM has similar functionality and this similar to be advocated incisive sound quality of the Bluesound devices. I think that the Bluesound Node 2021 has it over the WiiM Pro Plus in sound quality in terms of depth of soundstage, and it's also just a bigger sound. These are the most obvious areas when you flip between the two streamers. This is perhaps not surprising considering the Node costs over double the price, but the WiiM does have it over the Node in terms of being more resolute in the treble regions of the sound and treble in the upper mid-range if that's your thing. Using its analog outputs isn't the sound quality proposition of the Argon Audio Solo. Similarly with its analog outputs, the Solo is by comparison the better in terms of richer tone, fuller bass, and also there's slightly less sibilance on the edges of notes. I would say too that the Solo sort of presents music pervading the space territory of audio. So think of it that, and I'm talking relatively speaking, the Solo presents music being with instruments deeper on the stage. The WiiM by contrast has everything and all instruments closer together as if in one line on the stage. Again, relative, so I'm doing comparisons from one to the other, and these are small differences. The Solo is roughly the same price as the WiiM Pro Plus, but it has internal filtering and 8 voltage regulators on different parts of the circuit to do different jobs. I don't know whether the WiiM does have similarly, but this is maybe why the Argon Audio sounds a little bit better. But on the downside, it doesn't have its own app, there's no Tidal Connect, no ADC line inputs, no digital input or Ethernet connection. It does, like the WiiM Pro Plus, have Spotify Connect, Chromecasting, AirPlay 2 and room readiness, and also a Bluetooth connection. So generally speaking, if you want all that is featured in the WiiM Home app and all that is extolled from that, you'd get the WiiM. If you want sound quality, you'd buy the Argon Audio Solo, obviously if your system can reveal it. The other disadvantage with the Solo is that it's still only available in Europe. You can't get it in the US or the UK, or as I understand it, other areas as well. The Pro Plus doesn't have an eARC HDMI input. There's no sub output or USB output. All these features the Node has. When the Bluesound Node 2021 came out, Bluesound made the USB a input and an output, and it's a very, very good USB output. In fact, slightly better than the coaxial digital output that it has. The Bluesound app BluOS is fuller featured to the extent that it needs to be because there's more features in Bluesound streamers and speakers than WiiM actually has, but not to the exclusivity of the playback chain and the interface insofar as like interacting with your music. The WiiM Pro Plus is just as good in every way as BluOS, and in fact it almost substantiates the full price of this WiiM streamer, if that makes sense. It's a large part of the overall package of why you buy the Pro Plus. I wanted to do this test because a large part of why I do reviews is the journalistic angle to see whether I agree with people or not. And this was a test between the Bluesound Node, I think the Node X was done, against the WiiM Pro Plus used with a Chord Mojo 2. The Chord Mojo 2 has now come down in price to £400. So with the Pro Plus, it's about £70 more expensive than the cost of a Bluesound Node 2021 in the UK. Now I know this is all different elsewhere and Chord products are more expensive in the US, but it does give you an idea of a DAC you can use with the WiiM Pro Plus that can improve on other streamers, and it shows that you don't need to use pricey streaming transports to get good sound quality. It does sound better with more space and air than the Node 2021, and the music just rides along more rhythmically as well. I used it with the Gato Audio Amp 150 AE, and I did have to tune the DSP of the Mojo to warm up the sound a little bit because the Gato Audio has some, I wouldn't say leanness, but there's more treble in the upper mid-range and higher frequency areas, which isn't naturally the best balance with the chord. Okay, there is no choice of favoritism in the use of this DAC, but I used my chord cutest to do this test because it has two coaxial inputs, B and C inputs, so I could use a B and C to RCA adapter on the cable from digital output, RCA output of the WiiM and the Argon Audio Solo, and then for USB input of the cutest, I could feed that USB output from the Bluesound node. Obviously, I know the USB is a better connection, a better output, and also so I can flick between the inputs, the button on the cutest, to immediately hear the difference in sound quality. There is a sense that there's a little bit more compression with the WiiM compared to the Node. I wouldn't say like it's night and day because that rarely exists, but there is some difference in the dynamic shifts of the music, relatively speaking, and small differences. And another way is where vocals sit in the soundstage relative to other instruments. You can hear on recordings where the vocal sits in front of the instruments, that more in a defined way with the Node compared to the WiiM. Also, I think the bass is a little bit more taut and firm with the Bluesound. Between the WiiM and the Solo, the soundstage is wider and more nuanced with the Solo. It's a small change and subtle, and you do have to listen hard, but it's noticeable. And when I'm making this comparison, I'm by the way saying that this is the big change that will make you consider one over the other. Someone wrote in one of my reviews recently, well, you've compared it on soundstage, what about the other areas? But you have to, when doing reviews, concentrate on like the main thing that separates the two out, which you think that most people probably would go with you on to differentiate the products. But I would say against the Node and the Solo, the difference was really, really hard to find out, to suss out, when I was using this Gato Audio Amp 150 AE. So I think both of those on digital output duties are about the same quality. This isn't a particularly sort of price appropriate use of a PSU, but it does give you an idea what a linear power supply might do. I tried Silent Angel's Forester F2 linear PSU. It's got 4 sockets on the back, different outputs, and retails for about £1,200, I believe. And I used the 5V 2 amp output into a barrel to USB-C connector that I've got. And I've got to say, a more punchy and muscular sound when I was trying a bit of Depeche Mode and similar types of dynamic music. It wasn't a night and day difference, but then that's perhaps not a slate on the PSU or the WiiM, because sometimes with power supplies it's just about what works and whether they pair well together. Okay, so whilst I said that the analog outputs of the WiiM Pro Plus are not quite as good as those on the Node 2021 or Argon Audio Solo, that comparison was done using the Gato Audio Amp and my Hagel H390, obviously quite a bit more in price. So I did the same comparisons I did before using analog outputs on a more price appropriate system. I've got Kef's LS50 Metas, these are my own speakers, and also a Cyrus One Cast. Kef's are about £1,000 at the moment, and the Cyrus was about 1,300 when it came out, although you can get it for about 600 now. And I've got to say, all those comparisons and all those things I heard before were true in this system. So it does go to show that you can pick different streamers for different things that you want. Some people want features, some people want sound quality. The Cyrus and the Kefs also work really, really well together. The Class D nature of the Cyrus and the rolled off top treble of the Kefs, really, really good balance, loads of detail and loads of resolution, and easily good enough to test these 3 streamers against each other. It wasn't as noticeable as the pricier system, but it goes to show that you can get incremental improvements in sound quality that us audiophiles, are in this game for. Not to labour the point, but I think doing a comparison between these 3 products, it really goes to show that there isn't one winner, and it's so much down to what you want and what you want at price. But I hope this video with these short, snappy questions and short answers has given you a bit more information about which one could be for you. And until the next video, thanks very much for watching.